On your marks, get set, go! Welcome back to our second video on Monsieur Dutoit's English Conversation Learning channel. By way of revision, yesterday we looked at how the train of our thought can travel to the station of comprehension by following a railway track that consists of two rails. The first is route, the second is context. Route and context. We looked at the three-pronged process of arriving at wisdom, which is information, integration, application. Information must be sifted, the bad must be left, the good must be taken, like the cargo on the train of your thought. It must be integrated, which is the process of the journey, which is you grappling with a text or dealing with an issue that needs to be resolved. So information, integration to arrive at application. Now, if we look at the first word, information, and we apply the first rail of root, get to the root meaning of the word. In other words, we take away, we parse the word, we get a prefix, in, we get a suffix, shin, and so that leaves us with forma. Now, forma, we get the word form from. Forma, in fact, comes from Latin, and it means form, contour, figure, shape, appearance, looks, a fine form, beauty, an outline, a model, pattern, or design. It's a sort or a kind condition. All of that I get from the online etymological dictionary. That's where I go to when I'm looking for the origin of a word. It's etymology. Today I want to talk about the next step that I use in the same idea of root and context. Looking at parts of words, we look at parts of speech. Remember, this is about conversation. So parts of speech are the basic building blocks which constitute sentences, which constitute paragraphs, which constitute conversations. So it's very important in all of my lessons, I make sure, especially with students who have just joined one of my conversation classes, that we are on the same page as far as the basic understanding of parts of speech. Even with my sixth graders, it's one of the weekly revision points that we invariably do. We grapple with a text, we read to comprehend, and I have my students choose parts of speech. Verbs, nouns, pronouns, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, conjunctions. All of these grammatical terms are absolutely essential tools for the learner to be empowered to better deal with language, conversation, comprehension. When we look at a text that I usually project onto the whiteboard for the class, my conversation classes have fewer students so that we can work more on individual conversation. It's important to make sure that every learner is on the same page and that we have nobody that's neglected, and different personality types also need different approaches. Some of our introverts are going to need a dramatically different approach than an extrovert. It's quite difficult, and thus it requires special care and attention to identify the learning personality that we are faced with. And so it's very important to know the personality of the students we are working with so that there is an approach that is tailor-made for every student. Thus, the smaller the class is, the easier and the better it is for individual attention to be given. The larger the class, the more formal we need to be, and the less tailor-made the approach can be. Practically, when we read through a text and we have a sentence, I will ask the students as they read it, testing conversational skills. So we're testing pronunciation, we are testing comprehension, and we're also testing the personality of the student and how to tailor-make the learning to suit their need. Thanks for joining us today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to my channel and also share this with friends.